Hey guys, welcome to the Trash Picture Show. Today I'm going to be looking at the 1988 remake of The Blob. This is obviously a remake of the classic 1950s B-movie, but it is directed by Chuck Russell and written and fantastically scripted by the awesome Frank Darabont. Now, whereas there was a bunch of B-movies remade in the 80s, and a lot of them have garnered cult status, this has kind of been overshadowed and overlooked. It's an awesome movie in no small part to Frank Darabont's script. Again, this is the guy who wrote Shawshank Redemption and The Mist, and he is clever. He subverts your expectations and he uses your knowledge of the original movie against you. He kind of takes tropes and turns them on their head, and certain characters we think are going to be the main kind of heroes or protagonists are quickly dispatched, while others who we wouldn't normally see in the kind of heroic role kind of step up to the plate. Mainly Kevin Dillon. Kevin Dillon gives a really cool performance as Brian Flagg. Obviously a nod to Randall Flagg in The Stand. Although Russell says it's nothing to do with Stephen King. It's Frank Darabont. He's obviously kind of hinting at that in the movie. But again, this is clever. Like a lot of the movies in the 80s that were remakes of the old 50s B movies, it is a body horror. It essentially turns the Blob into something absolutely vile and visceral. And it's interesting how it does it. Like in the original, the Blob is found by this kind of homeless old kind of beggar guy, and he in this movie he tries to remove it by chopping off his hand, and it ends up sliding into his bloodstream via the gash in his hand and comes out his stomach and absorbs his stomach acid. So it is now a mobile vat of acid that just absorbs and dissolves its prey. And again, incredibly gory. There's some incredibly viciously gory scenes. And this movie had balls. This movie has a kid being dissolved in a very graphic kind of manner. But again, it's cool. It's something that takes a really silly B-movie premise and plays it dead fucking serious. And again, like subverting the expectations, in the original, this was a kind of being or a parasite that came to Earth on a meteorite. Whereas this, it's a lot more sinister. It's actually a bacteria that was sent into space on a probe by the military they're attempting to weaponize, and it gets loose in the town. So it's up to Brian Flagg, Kevin Dillon's character, and Shawnee Smith, who plays this kind of valley preppy girl. Shawnee Smith you probably know from the Saw movies, and also the Stand miniseries, and Becker. She was the ditzy secretary in Becker. She's awesome. She plays kind of a cheerleader who would usually not have anything to do with Flagg, but due to a certain amount of circumstances, she ends up having to pair up with him to save the town. And there are some really other great kind of character actors in this. Jeffrey DeMunn, who's kind of Darabont's good luck charm, is the sheriff, and you have Robert Axelrod, who is one of the scientists. You might know him as the voice of Lord Zed. Bill Moseley turns up as one of the scientists who manages to survive. Erika Leniak, in one of her earliest roles, is in a fairly memorable scene involving a really fucking nasty jock of a guy in his date rape mobile, and he gets his comeuppance due to the Blob. And it's a cool movie. It's incredibly gory. It's incredibly visceral. It is of its time. A lot of the movies that were kind of B-movie remakes were body horror. A lot of Cronenberg-esque stuff, such as The Fly and John Carpenter's The Thing. They showed a lot of fucking really visceral scenes, and this is no exception. One particular scene that stands out to me is in the cinema where Shawnee Smith sees one of her friends lying during the panic where the Blob attacks the cinema, which is a remake of the classic scene. One of her friends is lying down on her side, and she turns her over to find out her other left-hand side has completely dissolved and kind of meshed into the carpet. Really fucking gory. But again, yeah, this movie kicks ass, and if you haven't seen it, definitely give it a chance. It really did get overshadowed by the likes of The Fly and the thing, but it is one of the pinnacle kind of B movie remakes from the 80s that needs a lot more recognition. So have you seen this movie? What did you think? And if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments below. Have you seen the original, or have you seen the 1970s Beware the Blob, which was directed by Larry Hagman, aka JR? If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye now.